How's it going, everybody? ZBilbs back here with another video. It's been a little while, but I'm back here, and today I'm going to be doing my review for Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie came out a little while ago, so I know I'm a little late to the party, but I've got some thoughts on this movie, so I thought I'd do a little review for it. This is my first movie review. It's going to be similar format to video game review. I'm gonna keep it spoiler free as much as I can. But if you're afraid of spoilers and whatnot, then I would just say go watch the movie. Already spoiler for this review that I very much enjoy it, but I will go over why and all the specifics and whatnot. But without further ado, let's get rolling. So my first category that I'll be going over is the visuals and the cinematography and whatnot. Now, likewise with most Marvel movies, this is pretty solid across the board. You know, it's high quality visuals and whatnot. Generally, when it comes to Marvel movies, there's rarely shots that it's like, oh my gosh, like this is fantastic. But it's like it's competently shot throughout. There was actually one shot earlier on that was like a really solid long take and whatnot, and that was really cool. But other than that, it's just really good cinematography. CGI is great across the board, which actually I think I saw Black Widow recently too, and that CGI was shockingly poor for a Marvel movie. Marvel movies generally have really good CGI, and this one it has great CGI as well. So really solid visuals throughout. Next up, we've got the score and music and whatnot. Also same as the visuals, very, high quality sound design, really good music, score, whatnot. It's got the right emotional beats, it swells at the right moments and whatnot. It's nothing exceptionally standout, it's not quite that Avengers main score theme, but the score definitely works and is good throughout. Now getting into some actually more important stuff, let's talk about the characters and the acting. So this has got quite a big roster of characters. If you've seen the trailers, you know that characters from past Spider-Man movies are coming back, in particularly the villains. You've got, Doc Ock, you've got Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, Jamie Foxx as Electro, you've also got Sandman and the Lizard, and like these guys are definitely not phoning it in. They straight up just feel like their old menacing selves, and if you enjoy these villains from the past movies, you will definitely like them. In particular, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin is absolutely spectacular. Like, honestly, even though he's got, I guess, not technically like a MCU villain and whatnot, since he's not originating from the MCU, he is downright one of the best MCU villains that we have seen today. Probably pretty close with the Vulture as far as villains that appeared in MCU Spider-Man movies. Then over to the good guy cast, you've got, Doctor Strange, he's solid as ever. You've got, Ned and, Zendaya as MJ, and she actually is a lot more interesting in this one than before. She's always kind of reserved and kind of just like, not very expressive and whatnot, and I'm glad to say that that is very much different in this movie. She's very expressive. She really, you can tell that there's a strong relationship between her and Peter, and just really great. Aunt May also is, she's never like bad and whatnot, but like she really had some powerful moments and just did a really great job in this one as well. And then the standout is definitely Tom Holland as Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and whatnot. I've always liked Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but this is by far his best performance as Spider-Man. Like, it's not even close. He shows more emotion and more just strength and anguish, and his character, you can feel a change and a development throughout, and it is by far one of the most emotional, powerful performances by a main character in the MCU. It is absolutely excellent across the board. I would say if I had one complaint, there's a couple characters here and there that are kind of underutilized and whatnot. I wouldn't say that it's just bad acting, but some of the villains are kind of feel like they're there just to be there, and it just makes the chemistry between them just feel a little bit, I don't know, overdone, a little bit unnecessary and whatnot. But it really no big complaints as far as characters. Now getting into the story, I'm gonna keep it spoiler free as far as specifics go, but overall, I would say it's a solid story. It's not a fantastically made story, and that's mostly due to just the scale that they're trying to go for. You know, this is a movie that is trying to do so much. They're bringing back all of these villains and weaving all of these story threads together, and because of that, it does feel a little bit, you know, packed at times, like it's trying to bite off a little bit more than it can chew. In particular, the first half of the movie is interesting and fun, but it definitely feels like just a lot of build-up. Just that nothing particularly interesting is happening. There's a couple of fun action scenes, but there's nothing especially significant until you get to the second half. Once you get to the second half, it's pretty much all excellent from there on out. Also, how the movie ends, it feels like it kind of drags on a little bit, where I'm like, okay, are we done yet? Are we done yet? Are we done yet? And it does end solid overall, but it does feel like it's dragging, which is, you know, kind of tough. This is like a 2.5 hour movie almost and whatnot. So I wouldn't necessarily say they could have shaved off too much time, but you know, it is a little bit clunky there. But overall, you know, this is a story and whatnot that really hones in on its characters and whatnot. And it, you know, it's not the most compelling story, but the characters really hold it up and make it something special. But next up, I'm going to be talking about the genre appeal. And what that means is just how good is this movie in the genre that it's going for. In this case, how good of a superhero movie is this? How good of a Spider-Man movie is this? And generally speaking, excellent across the board. In particular, I would say one problem I've had with the MCU Spider-Man movies in the past is they really feel more on the MCU side and less on the Spider-Man side. Like, the Spider-Man Homecoming was great, but it focused a lot on like Tony Stark and kind of a lot of MCU-isms. The second one was literally the villain was built on the back of his scorn for Tony, and kind of built on like Peter kind of letting go of Tony and whatnot. And you know, it had Nick Fury as a significant character in there, sort of. This is the first MCU Spider-Man movie that really feels like a Spider-Man movie first and an MCU movie second, which is absolutely excellent to see. The first half, once you got a lot more Doctor Strange in the first half of the movie, and that's when it feels a little bit more MCU-ish. After the first half, it feels like a true core Spider-Man movie all the way to the very end, which is absolutely excellent to see. And I think anyone, whether they're a fan of superhero movies, MCU movies, or Spider-Man movies, there is something in here for everybody as far as the genre goes, which is great. Next up, the memorability and rewatchability. I'd say for most people, this is going to be an absolute slam dunk, because there is just a lot here. There's a lot of references and whatnot, which is going to be really fun for people, fans of old Spider-Man movies, you know, with the villains and whatnot. And it's just, you know, a really fun movie. There's a lot to enjoy about this. And I definitely, after I walked out of the theater on this one, I was like, I want to go and watch that again, because it's just really fun. I can definitely see myself going and watching this movie again. Maybe not the most rewatchable movie, just because of how long it is and how the story isn't quite as tight as it could be, but definitely a decent amount of rewatchability in there. And lastly, talking about the entertainment, And as you can tell throughout, this is a thoroughly entertaining movie through and through. The only real gripes I have is just about, the pacing, how the story, it takes a little bit to get going, which is understandable because of the scale that it builds up, and then it just takes a little bit too long to end, in my opinion, which, it made me, not enjoy it as much as I could, but overall, I was thoroughly entertained throughout. Um, so now going through and giving this a score, I am going to give Spider-Man No Way Home a 9.1 out of 10. This is an amazing movie. Um, Overall, what really made this movie for me is, it had such high of expectations. It was trying to do so many things, and everything it did, it felt like it did it for a purpose. Every single reference and nod to past Spider-Man properties or MCU properties actually served the story and building the overall movie, which just made it a better movie overall. I think this is a genuinely amazing movie that people are going to be going back to and rewatching in the future. I think it is easily the best of the Spider-Man trilogy in the MCU, if not probably one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. It's just a really well-made movie, even for like an MCU movie, because I know some people, Martin Scorsese, doesn't think they're real cinema, but this is just a really, really good movie. I recommend go out and watching it if you haven't yet, because it is most definitely worth it. But that is all I've got for my review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Let me know what you thought about the movie, if you agree or disagree with my review. I've got some more videos that should be coming out soonish. I'm going to have a Halo Infinite review coming out. I've got going to do probably a short game award show for my favorite games of the year. I'll have some more metal content, some more top 20 songs lists. But comment below, let me know what other videos you'd like to see on this channel. And that's all I got for you. So I'll see you later.